sometimes being consistent can be a little boring. But you know, I was thinking about that today and I said, you know, is it ever really boring when someone lives up or exceeds your expectations? Is it ever really boring to watch excellent execution of a plan? Is it ever boring to win 10 games a year? Is it ever boring to watch Steve McNeil make 1.5 million tackles a season? And become all-state? Is it boring to see a freshman make 18.5 sacks and become first-team All-American either, as a freshman? Is it boring to watch Jacob Kirshner kick it through the uprights again and again and again and again? And you talk about the freshmen, is it boring to see last year's freshman team make so much varsity impact on this year's team? And so much impact on next year's team, for sure. Is it boring to think about that could happen again next year? We could win 10 games again and be in the district finals again. And most importantly, is it boring to celebrate and welcome the class of 2014, our senior football players? Is it? Like, get on your feet and let's welcome our class of 2014, our football seniors this season. Okay. Boy, they came right down and sat down. They are all business, aren't they? These guys, it's awesome. It was also awesome to watch them impose their will upon teams. Game after game after game. That's always impressive and that's always exciting. So again, we hope everybody has a great time today. At this time, I'm going to call the president of the Rams Club, Mr. Gary Mazzoni, to share a few words today. Thank you and enjoy your day.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And like Mr. Fox said, my name is Gary Mazzoni. I'm the current president of the Central Dauphin Rams Booster Club. And first and foremost, thank you all for showing up at our annual year-end banquet. You know, I thought about a theme for today. And last year we did the get involved kind of theme. This year, it's more around times are changing and so must we. Okay? But before we get into any of that, I'd like to introduce some people who I think are a key component of this club. Melanie Hartzell, if you are here, please stand up. Our Vice President. Linda Nguyen, our Secretary. Erica Frank, our Treasurer. And Steve Straney, our Advisor. And former past president of this club. I'd also like to introduce the class advisors from this year. So if you guys are in the room, please stand up. Our freshman advisor, Missy Schmidt. Our sophomore advisors, Deb House and Shauna Tillman. Our junior advisor, Vicki Howell. And senior advisor, Linda Nguyen. This is probably my fourth or fifth banquet, I can't even remember at this point. But every year, it's something that just shows what this club and what this program is all about. You look at the number of people in attendance, 300 plus again this year. So basically, we're here to honor tonight our coaching staff, who has done a tremendous job these last couple of years. Our seniors, as they move forward into their next phase of life, and anybody else that's involved in this great program. It's through the efforts and dedication of people like you guys sitting out there that makes this truly a standout organization. As I mentioned at the beginning, times are changing and so must we. What does that mean? Simply it means, parents, we need you to get involved. You've got to get involved in the club to make the next transition and to keep giving our kids the first-class experience that they've had. We need your support. And that could be holding a board position, could be being involved in various activities that we do, you know, events, games, helping out, helping your children do some fundraising. We do a couple of those events every year. So for those who are not sure what the club actually does to support the boys, here's just a few. 2-a-day lunches. So the kids have first-class lunches for the first 2 days when the season starts. Team meals and team meetings. So the special teams group knows, the offensive line groups know. Pizzas every Tuesday during the season. Purchasing equipment for the weight room and the practice field. So we've done that the last several years. The cable cross system that's in the weight room now, 2 years ago, and then this past season we brought the chutes and then the sound system. Charter buses. So the boys got to ride the charter buses out to the Governor Mifflin game. I'm sure they love that experience. A lot of people think that once the season is over, the club stops as well. But just like our football program, we move forward. We are constantly talking about new initiatives, fundraising, activities, new partners, and ways to make the program better than it was the year before. We meet once a month, usually the last Wednesday or Monday of the month, and basically we'd like to see everybody get there. So if you haven't been to a meeting, please plan on attending one. Okay? You see usually 10 to 15 people. There's 100 kids on the team. I'd love to see 25 to 30 people show up at a meeting. It'd be awesome. So in closing, I encourage you all, get involved, bring your thoughts and ideas to the meeting, and help us take the program to the next level. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, January 26th, at which time we'll be doing nominations for the next coming board, as well as committee chairs. So if you want to get involved, please plan on attending that meeting. At this time, I'd like to share a short video with you. We always do a video for the parent meeting. This is compliments of Bill Anderson. He does a fantastic job with this. Inspiring? I think so. He does a great job with that. At this time, I'd like to call up our freshman coach, Mr. John Kessler. I guess we got Coach McMahon.
Good afternoon. The two things I noticed about the program is they spelled my name wrong, and I have until 1:30. So the meal will not be early. And Mr. Kessler is ill, players, not from you, but from a virus. He will not be with us. He called, and he's on speakerphone, so anything you want to say, just say it loudly. But I'm here to give remarks that John would want to say. You always start a presentation with some thank yous. And the first thank you has to go out to Coach Mack and his coaching staff. I know Coach Dennison's going to say the same thing a little bit later, but if you ever spend any time around Glenn, he preaches that this is one team with several levels. So the freshman team never felt like a separate entity. In fact, Coach Mack knows more about the players from his camps and from his involvement with the midget program than some of the coaches do when they show up. And we have a high interest level in the varsity staff. Coach Doherty, Coach Rosler, Coach Bushy, Coach Landis, they've all seen these kids in the middle school program, and they're continually asking about the performance. And they really are involved with the team, the freshman team. So thanks to Coach Mack and his staff. The second thank you always gives to the parents. And the parents did a wonderful job this year, not just picking up their kids and getting to the right place at the right time, but we were the road warriors. Our first 4 games, we had 3 away games. We played at Reading, at Chambersburg, and at State College. And I think we may have outnumbered the home crowd on all 3 of those games. You always honor and support the players. I'll talk about some individual things later, but just in general about the players, we have a squad of 40 players, and I was just going through the list this morning, and I bet there were 9 or 10 injuries that caused someone to miss more than 1 game. But to finish, well, not to finish, the expectations on this team coming in were very high from their success at the midget level, and from previous years on the freshman teams have had high success, but each team is a new system for us. Coach Mack and the varsity coaches get to have players for 2 or 3 years and fit them in the organization. We had 2 returning freshman players from our previous team. And this team, even though they had high expectations, they performed very well. They performed above what we expected with considering 25% of the players missed a game or more because of injuries. We played 3 quarterbacks. We had 8 or 10 offensive linemen start a game. Our defense linebackers were in constant flux. But anytime we asked a player to step up into a role, they were ready to meet the challenge. So thank you to the players for their dedication and their support. An overview of the season, we had a very fine time on our bus trip down to Reading. We got, I don't know what it is usually, maybe a 50, 60-minute trip, took us over 2 hours, stuck in downtown traffic, behind a train going across the railroad tracks, and then we're at the field at Reading High, and we're stuck in an alcove while we waited for school students to be loaded onto a bus. So our preparation for our opening game was about 11 minutes before the officials told us we had to play, because there was a soccer game following our game. And it was about 95 degrees. But we started the season off well, a shutout of Reading, continued with a win at Chambersburg, played a fine game and defeated Harrisburg, and then we took our first loss in 2 years at State College. But this may have been the best played game of the season. We scored 36 points against a very good State College team and ended up on the losing end. The kids came back from a deficit. We were driving towards the end of the game. And there was general excitement on the sidelines from our dozens of fans that made the trip, but we came up short. But the mark of a team is not what you do in success, it's what you do in adversity. Yeah. And this team came back after a loss, a disappointing loss, a long bus trip, and we ripped off the next 3 wins in a row. Finished the year at 6-2, very fine accomplishment from this team. Now, not only is Coach Kessler ill, but Coach Zimmerman is at military training. So he will not be with us. He's on his way, but he's not here yet. And Coach Judge, our defensive coordinator, was unavailable to another obligation. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Coach Zimmerman Jr. please come up and help me out. Mr. Mazzoni, they're going to get something over here? Okay. All right, so fellas, if you can kind of make your way up here to the stage, here's what's going to happen. We'll call the names alphabetically. You will get your certificate from Coach Zimmerman and shake Coach Mack's hand, and then head down to see Mr. Mazzoni, where the Booster Club has some gifts for you. But then please remain up here, because we have something at the end of the presentation that everyone has to be around for. Gentlemen, let's go. All the names will get called, even though I know that all the players are not present with us today. Running back and defensive end, defensive back, Elijah Armour. Fellas, let's go. Quarterback and defensive back, Carson Bolesky. AJ, you're next. Linebacker and running back, AJ Blair. Offensive line and defensive line, Nick Chan. Tight end, defensive end, Sterling Cooper. Running back and linebacker, Lewis Crum. Wide receiver and defensive back, Corey Daniels. Offensive line, defensive line, Sean Gahagan. Wide receiver and defensive back and honor roll member, Zach Harrigan. Offensive tackle, defensive end, Booth Heschler. Offensive line and defensive line, Jonah Keith. Wide receiver, defensive back, Gavin King. Quarterback, defensive back, Bailey Crawl. Wide receiver and defensive back, Jalen Lewis. Offensive line and defensive end, Thomas Maury. Offensive line, defensive line, Jay Medicia. Fullback, linebacker, and honor roll member, Alec Mosey. Offensive line and defensive line, Julian Montessier. Offensive line, defensive line, and two-year player, Trevor Omsler. Wide receiver and defensive back, Ryan Patel. Offensive line and defensive line, Travis Payne. Wide receiver and defensive back, Michael Payton. Wide receiver and defensive back, Seville Pope. Tight end and defensive end, Colin Proctor. Wide receiver, defensive back, Brendan Schaffner. Center, defensive line, Zach Schmidt. Wide receiver, linebacker, Dustin Shepard. Offensive guard, defensive line, honor roll member, Joey Silvers. Tight end and defensive end, Grant Smith. Quarterback, defensive back, honor roll member, Brady Straub. Offensive line and linebacker, honor roll member, Mitchell Talbot. Offensive line and defensive line, Connor Tressler. Center and defensive line, honor roll member, Ethan Van Buskirk. Offensive tackle, defensive line, honorable member, and two-year player, Dustin Weebidow. Running back and linebacker, Michael Wise. Offensive line, defensive line, Jacob Yost. Fullback and linebacker, Adam Burkhart. Fullback and linebacker, Dre Donnelly. Tight end and defensive end, Mason Griffiths. And fullback and linebacker, Willie Schuler. 40 players started and ended the season. One more round of applause for all the players, please. Now, Coach Mack said we could give out some awards this year, so we gave a note card for the players to vote for the team MVP. And when we counted the awards, I was a tie for first place. Every player in the team had one vote. That's not something we want to recognize most valuable players at this level. Their goal is to be a varsity level and play on Friday nights and get recognition on their own, not just from their teammates. But we do have an award, and I know this has been a varsity tradition for a while, and we're expanding it down because we have one team with several levels. The freshmen are also going to give out a RAM award. and the RAM stands for rest ahead of me. Now this player, it may be a starter, but it doesn't have to be a starter. This is the player who is the first person out of the locker room and ready to go to practice. And this is the player at the end of practice is willing to pick up the bags or carry the water bottles back to the school. This is the player that gets first in line for drills to do some extra repetitions and make themselves better, which makes the team better. And this is the player that's counted on to fill in whenever necessary. If the first team offense is working, then they'll work with scout off the defense. And if they need someone on special teams, they just jump in. There were many candidates for this goal, this award, and the coaching staff got together one evening, and we selected the Freshman Ram Award winner as Mitchell Talbot. Please come up. Excellence in the classroom is accepted at his house, but it's excellent on the field where he earned that award. Mitchell was the Swiss Army knife of the team. Tackle went down, Mitchell played tackle. Guard went down, Mitchell played guard. If we needed someone, to wrap someone's ankle, Mitchell volunteered. This is a guy with unlimited potential because whatever the team needs, that's what Mitchell would do. And congratulations to you, Mitchell. Quick thanks to Cody Zimmerman. He's here supporting his father, who again is at military training, and thank you for a good season.
Thank you, Coach McMahon. We won't call him Coach Little Mac. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. But of course, every successful team has great support from administration. I apologize I didn't recognize him when he came in, and maybe a chance for some of you to really kind of welcome him for the first time. Our new athletic director, Mr. Chris Hunter. Chris, got to know Chris these past couple months. He's great to work with already, so I'm really excited that he's on board, and I think he's only going to add to our successful environment here. Also want to recognize and welcome Dr. Bresch. He's here with us today. Dr. Bresch has been with the team 3 plus a number after it. 4, 5, 7, 37 years Dr. Bresch has been with the team, so always glad he could be here. And our outstanding certified athletic trainers, Michelle Park and Jess Chenko, are back there. Welcome them. I'm sure Coach Lapp will say some more nice things about them on